From Atlanta News First Plus, this is Sports Tonight.
Welcome into Sports Tonight. Emily Gagnon here on a frigid Friday. It is January 19th. The good news about it being so cold outside is it's basketball season, and the Hawks are on the road at the Heat. I can't think of a better place to be in an arena, number one, but number two, in South Florida when it's so cold here in Atlanta. We actually have a team down there tonight covering what's going on around the team, covering the team as they take on the Heat. Alan Devlin and Tori Cooper, both down there. They got to go to shoot around with the players this morning. They've been hanging out with fans. Let's check in with them as they just get to have some heat of their own, right? Having a really fun day covering the Hawks down in South Florida.
What's going through your head when you're pulling up for that jump shot?
Win the game, that's it. You know, it's nothing more, nothing less than that. Just win the game, whether it was myself or one of my teammates.
So when y'all come down to Miami, is there anything that goes through your mind as a team or as a player when you're facing the Miami Heat? Anything you need to do differently? Anything about playing in Miami that changes up how y'all approach the game?
I mean, they have a great culture here as far as, the understanding of, what kind of team you're going to see each and every year. Just, a team, that plays the right way, plays hard, no matter the outcome of the game. But they always get themselves a chance, so you just got to be ready to play, whether you're coming to Miami or Miami's coming to, play you in your hometown.
How have you guys kept up the momentum when it comes to dealing with the injuries you guys have been dealing with this year, the ins and the outs of trying to play as a complete team?
I mean, no excuses. It's the NBA. It's next man up. There's a reason why everybody on this roster is a professional athlete. So for me, it's next man up mentality. I dealt with injuries when I was, in my younger days, and I looked at it as one of my teammates get opportunity, and I get to recover and work on my body and try to get back to full strength. So, it's no excuses. Obviously, you want to be healthy to see your whole team, but that's out of our control.
And you may know already, a lot more Hawks fans are getting to watch you guys on Fridays on Atlanta News First and Peachtree TV now. Ratings are going really well for the Friday games. A message to all of the Hawks fans who are going to be watching tonight as you guys take on the Miami Heat and hopefully get a win.
I mean, we're going to compete at a high level on both ends of the floor, but mainly try to turn, get stops on defense and allow that to be our best offense, but share the ball, play together, and, one success for everybody, on the team. So, we're going to try to get a win. I don't play the game to lose, and none of these guys here play the game to lose.
Going into tonight's game, y'all just came off that buzzer beater win earlier this week. What's the mindset as you face the Miami Heat?
The mindset is the same as last game. Come out hard, play some defense like we did last game. Keep this game low-scoring game. Play hard, be physical. Be the first team to send a message by being physical, and be the aggressor tonight.
So tonight, the Miami Heat are going to get a little boost. Udonis Haslem night. They're going to be celebrating his jersey retirement at halftime. Does that alter your approach?
That's not our problem. We came here to get this win. This is where our focus at tonight. We need it.
Anything you guys like to change up or any specifics you like to go into when you're facing a team like the Miami Heat?
When we're facing a team like the Miami Heat, we know that we have to be the first one to hit them in the chest. You got to be the first one to play physical, especially when you play here in Miami.
And last question I got for you, you guys have been dealing with injuries in and out for the course of the season here. Is there anything that you guys do specifically to keep momentum going as a team when you're not always complete?
I mean, it's a long season, so you never know. Some guys going to be in, some guys going to be out. All you can do is always keep yourself ready for the next game. Weight room, conditioning, lifting, extra shots up, and be ready to go.
And I do have one more question for you. I just thought of it. So as you just heard, this game tonight is going to be on Atlanta News First and Peachtree TV. A lot of Atlanta fans are going to be able to watch this game for free for the first time in 30
really?
years.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So ratings were up really high last Friday for your game against the Pacers. Any message to the Atlanta fans who are going to be watching you guys play?
Just appreciate the support. We're going to give everything we got. We're a team that keep on working to get better.
We are here courtside with the Atlanta Hawks as they get warmed up for the very first time before tonight's game.
Yeah, and it's going to be a big game. They're playing the Miami Heat down here in Miami, Florida. It's actually a Udonis Haslem celebration night. They're retiring his jersey, but the Atlanta Hawks spoke to us and they said they don't care. They're here to win, and none of that other stuff is their business tonight. Tori and me, we've been all over Miami the past 2 days getting ready for this game. It's been a good time.
We have. It's been a really great time. We had a chance to go to Miami's Art District. We had a chance to go to one of the iconic restaurants, Joe's Stone Crab, and meet with the owner. We tried the best food. We also had a chance to speak to some of the players here, and they really appreciate the fan support. They were kind of shocked to see us, but when they heard about how many fans were excited at home, watching it in their living room, they were really excited to hear about that.
Yeah. I spoke to Clint Capella specifically, and I said, Atlanta News First, Peachtree TV is airing these games, and a lot more of your fans are able to watch for free. He said that is incredible.
Yeah.
The support is great, and we're going to try and get a win for them. DJ, who hit that game winner earlier this week, he talked a little bit about the injuries in and out for the season, but just like Clint, he said no matter what happens in the last game, the next game is all that matters, and a W is all that matters. Are you excited for tonight's game?
I am so excited for tonight's game, and to get it up close and personal like this, and where you can experience it too from wherever you are. We're really excited to be able to share that with you. It's going to be on tonight at 8 o'clock, and we have our pregame show with Bailey Burmaster, our sports director at Atlanta News First. We also have Joshua Skinner back in Atlanta, and we are going to be speaking with some fans that made the trip all the way from Atlanta to be here for tonight's game.
It's going to be great, so make sure you tune in. Tip-offs in just about an hour or so. It's coming up on it. We will see you there. Right now, we're in Miami. Alan Devlin, Tori Cooper. Same time. Atlanta News First.
Atlanta News First.
All right, Alan Devlin and Tori Cooper down in South Florida covering the Heat and Hawks tonight on Peachtree TV and Atlanta News First, tipping at 8 o'clock. The Hawks actually enter this game on a 2-game win streak. I haven't been able to say that very often this season since they have been so inconsistent and have lost so much. Only 17 wins so far, 20-plus losses, and they're coming off of a big win over Orlando, a much improved Magic team. A buzzer beater, DeJounte Murray hit it on Wednesday. So they have some momentum entering this game. That's the good news. Obviously trying to go on a 3-game win streak, and they are without Trae Young, who is out with an illness. We'll continue to talk about that in just a bit. But I do think we need to get back to South Florida, warm us up a little bit. Alan and Tori, of course, got to hang out with the team at the arena, but they also got to check out one of the best restaurants down on South Beach.
It's not just about the brand, but it's about family.
A short walk from the Atlantic, a place that transcends generations.
We've, again, been in operation since the early 1900s. We plan to be, one day at a time, in business for another 100 years. That's the one I was telling you about. And there's Noriega.
The walls covered in history, and the tables covered in soon-to-be empty plates.
I can help you too.
And you can't come to Joe's Stone Crab.
Now the shell on the outside of a stone crab, S-T-O-N-E.
Without trying the crab.
Boy, that's good.
I want that piece.
Yeah, here.
I gotta try some. I
Yeah.
haven't tried any yet.
Here you go. Here, I'm gonna dip it for you.
I looked. So you just go for it?
Yeah, but there's a membrane in the middle, so.
You'll feel it. Right down.
What does that mean? Wow.
Right? It's
That's
so
really
good.
good.
And now in the dining room, some of Joe's legends happen to be stopping by. Their names etched in the walls, literally.
What keeps you coming back to Joe's? I mean, how long has it been?
Probably 40 years. Long time. My late brother and I used to come here, and this was our table.
The ambience, the service, the food is phenomenal.
A place just cracking the surface of longevity and good seafood.
The newer Miami gets, I think the better we look.
All right, guys, Scott Pennyman is now joining us after hearing from Tori and Alan down in South Florida. A little jealous, Scott?
Am I jealous?
Yeah, I mean, it's warm.
Come on.
We got our resident Clevelander here.
It's not too bad here in Atlanta.
But stop acting like you don't.
I love the warm weather.
I was going to
just as
say,
much as
you
the next
talk
person,
about
of
it more
course.
times than.
I do. I'm a big fan of warm weather, so yeah.
I know. Ellie's pointing
We're
out to
from
me
two
that I'm
cold
from
weather places.
Canada, but I mean, I haven't been in. I go to visit, but living there, it's been a minute, and my
but
blood has
actually,
thinned.
You know what? I've never been to Miami before. Never.
Oh well, that's
I
why.
I know that's pretty rare.
I was gonna say that's why I guess the reaction I got from you.
That's like one of the most common cities that people visit, and
Yeah.
most common vacation places, and I've
my
never
favorite
been there.
city here, for sure.
Yeah.
But let's talk
I get
about my favorite city and the Hawks taking on the Heat.
Yeah.
The Heat do not lose at home very often. They're 12-7, I guess. So pretty good record if you consider how the Hawks have played at home, and they have a losing record at State Farm Arena. So how are you feeling about this one and without Trae Young?
Well, I think it'll be a really interesting test to see how well they play without Trae Young, right? I mean, I've kind of often wondered how that backcourt dynamic works with Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. Really,
I think a lot of us wonder that.
and it's never really looked great so far. So I think tonight will be an interesting test to see how DeJounte can run the team as the point guard with the current pieces and parts they have. And if they play well and even win the game tonight, then I think that'll start some discussion. Like, I wonder if these guys maybe are too. I don't think anybody questions DeJounte Murray being a really good player. I don't think anybody questions
And a good
Trae Young.
teammate.
Yeah, and a really good teammate. He's just the kind of guy that you look at and you could say his skill set and how he views the game and how he plays the game kind of fits in anywhere, right? And then you look at Trae Young, and there's never question the kind of player he is, and never question how great of a player he is. But you sort of wonder sometimes about fit with the Hawks, and so sometimes I watch them and I kind of wonder, would they be better off with just Trae out there and not DeJounte, or better off with just DeJounte and not Trae?
I wonder what fans would say about that. Like if they gave up Trae. And,
well,
I
think ideally you'd have a coach here that can make it work, right? And that's the job of Quinn Snyder, is to make these things work and make them blend together. That's why they brought him here, right? So I think it's on him to make sure that that tandem can look as good as it can possibly look. Now, so far, I'd say that's a failing. He probably receives a failing grade in that category because they haven't played well together, they haven't looked well together, and they really haven't meshed well together in the backcourt. So I think, and keep in mind, the trade deadline is kind of around the corner too. So when you think about that part, I think these next few games are going to be really big in determining what direction the Hawks are going to go in from here, because they could either be buyers, they could stand pat, or they could be sellers come the trade deadline, depending on what the record's looking like and depending on maybe how things shake out personnel-wise too.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I do think, Scott, given the way they've played this season, the inconsistencies, the lack of defense, and obviously, even at times, the lack of offense. Like, you have shooters on this team, and sometimes just like I guess it would have been last week, just a week ago, I thought, what are these guys doing? They scored less than 100 points. I think that was Saturday night for the first time in forever. They held the third longest record in NBA history of being able to score 100 or more points, and it was like their worst offensive performance all season. So that to me shocked me, because not only are they bad on defense all the time, but you just don't expect the offense to be bad, right?
Right.
And I don't remember who they played, but I don't remember who did they play? Wasn't it? Oh, it was the 70s. No, not 70s.
They played Washington. Remember, they got blown out by Washington.
That's when that happened.
That was wild.
You lose by however many points and don't score 100 on Washington, one of the worst teams in the NBA. I think they got their 7th win against the Hawks that night. So that's rough. That's really rough to watch. To me, all this to say, I do think something has to happen in the sense that trade deadline's coming up, I think February 8th or 9th, right?
Yeah, look,
something has to happen here. There has to be some moves made.
I talk to people all the time. Like, I love playing. I've always been kind of, not as much as I used to, but I love video games. If a kid is watching the Atlanta Hawks right now and they're playing a game of NBA 2K24, when you look at the personnel and the pieces and parts on the Hawks team, you would say, wow, I'm playing with this team. They're pretty good. They have DeJounte and they have Trae Young, two dynamic players in the backcourt, Clint Capella, and you would wonder why this team isn't better than what the record indicates and what they've been. So I don't know what that is. I mean, sometimes you can have a bunch of good players on a team and the pieces and parts just don't fit. That's, they don't have that chemistry. So maybe that's the case for the Hawks, and maybe they knew and maybe come trade deadline, they do need to consider making some sort of move to shake things up a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you. Moving on to the Falcons, listen, these names every second of the way, every day, something crazy happens. But I think they're now at 9. I'm pretty sure 9 candidates
I think they've
interviewed.
every assistant coach in the National Football League at this point.
Other than Raheem Morris.
Right.
I'm waiting on that one. But today, everybody's going wild over this Bill Belichick news.
Of course.
Reports have it that he has now or will soon have his second interview with the Falcons. And then, as of just, in the last 15, 20 minutes, we're now hearing that Jim Harbaugh will also, or is supposed to get interview number 2 with the team. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm just not excited about Belichick. Maybe others are. I'm just not. And it's nothing against him. He has 6 rings, 6 more than so many other people, right? Sure. He was super successful. And, basically 20 of the 24 or 21 of the 24 seasons he was in New England. Just recent history has it where he has not done so well, only winning 4 games this past season. Maybe that has to do with the fact that Tom Brady was no longer there. Yeah. But I don't think we'll ever argue that he's one of the greatest coaches that's coached in the NFL. But I do think, in my personal opinion, and in my opinion doesn't matter here because he's super successful, it's like maybe his time has passed. I don't know.
That's kind of where I'm at a little bit, but I think, look, for where Arthur Blank is at right now and for where the team is at, maybe he's looking for that splash hire. Maybe he's looking for that guy who's going to raise eyebrows around the league and make the team sort of, I guess, kind of relevant, because they kind of sit in the middle of the NFL right now in a blah division, so there's not a whole lot of excitement around the team, around the National Football League. But you bring in Bill Belichick, and that changes immediately. All of a sudden, it's all eyes on the Falcons. It's all eyes on Bill Belichick. You're going to have national reporters at the Falcons complex on a regular basis. So all of a sudden, people will care about your team a lot more, way more than they care about it right now. So if that's what Arthur Blank is going for, I understand. But I believe, personally, from a football standpoint and for where the team is at right now, I don't think it's the best hire, just because I think what this team needs is a younger, more progressive coach that can sort of
that was putting it nice. That was very eloquently put.
Yeah, I think they need a younger, more progressive coach.
Yeah.
That understands offenses in today's NFL, and not just understands offenses, understands how to relate to the players in 2024. I think that's a big thing, because
that is definitely a thing.
Right, because during the end of his time in New England, I think that was maybe sort of a problem, right? When you consider Mac Jones, who was a young quarterback, he was raising Mac Jones about 20 years after grooming Tom Brady, and he probably handled that situation probably like he would have 20 years ago. And you can't do that, because the people are different now, the culture is different now, and the sport is different now. The athlete in 2024 is a lot different from the athlete in the year 2000. So I just wonder if Bill Belichick can make that connection. At the least, he should hire some younger people on his staff to be able to bring that sort of thing together.
And so, with that being said, though, it sounds like Jim Harbaugh might be a good candidate, just given what you just said, because he's a younger, maybe more can relate better, more dynamic coach.
Yeah, and here's the thing: I'm not even saying that Belichick cannot connect to the players because he's old, because he's 71, right? Because I'm not saying that because
no, I like that you're clarifying that.
Right, because Andy Reid is in his mid-60s, and he deals fine with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and those guys, and they respect him and they win. So I'm just not saying that this is an age thing. I'm saying it's more of a
philosophy
thing? And is Bill Belichick willing to change his ways more to be able to adjust to the world we're in now? Because for anyone to be around 20, 30, 40, 50 years doing anything, you have to be able to reinvent yourself multiple times.
Yeah.
whether it's entertainment, whether you're a musician or whether you're a football coach. And I think Bill Belichick just has to be able to keep his core values, but somehow be able to reinvent himself to reach players in 2024.
Okay, so we'll see how this shakes out between Bill Belichick, Jim Harbaugh, and whoever else they might bring in to interview. But I really do hope Raheem Morris at least makes the cut to be on that list.
Yeah, it's about time for him to get some consideration again.
I do think that he deserves, like you said, consideration. I do think he deserves some consideration.
Excellent defensive mind.
Yeah, and quite frankly, these guys know him. Like, he was here. He was an interim coach here.
Yeah.
He did what not a lot of coaches do, and he coached receivers with his background.
Right.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, he went out of his comfort zone and he learned a little bit more of what's going on the other side of the ball, which might have helped him even more so, with defense and whatever the case may be. But
for sure,
at least interview the guy. But also, if they don't interview him, Scott, that tells me that with knowing him, they weren't interested. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, right, exactly. I'm sure, like you said, the organization knows him. They know about him.
Yeah.
They know what he's about. So yeah, if they do not want to interview him, then that shows you a lot, right? They also interviewed Aaron Glenn today too, right?
Yes, defensive coordinator, Lions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if I've talked with you about this, but there's more defensive-minded coaches on this list than there are offensive-minded coaches, and I find that interesting.
It's interesting, but I guess it kind of makes sense because what happens in the NFL is when you have an offensive coach and that didn't really work out the way you thought it should work out, your next hire is probably going to be a defensive guy, right? Because they just normally go back and forth. Get an offensive guy, get a defensive guy, offensive guy, defensive guy. So Arthur Smith was an offensive guy. He was an offensive mind in Tennessee. They brought him here. It didn't work out. So for me, it's not really that much of a, I'm not that surprised that they're looking towards defensive-minded coaches now.
And say what you will about Dan Quinn, honestly. I mean, he's by far been my favorite head coach covering the Falcons.
They made the Super Bowl with him, right?
That's what I was about to say. And the end was ugly, but let's not forget the beginning. And most people only remember how things ended. They don't remember how things were going in the beginning. But you need to remember that with DQ because, and quite frankly, yes, against the Cowboys. I mean, with the Cowboys against whoever they played.
Yeah.
Green Bay. That wasn't a good performance there. But the rest of the season, and since he's been in Dallas, he's done a great job with the defense. Let's be real.
I mean, how many coaching tenures end great, right? I mean, they normally end with losing
That's correct.
And getting fired. That's just how it works,
Yep, and you're right about that. All right, moving along. Raiders. This is your topic, so I'm going to give it to you. But
I like it.
I agree with you on this. You like it. What's going on with the Raiders?
So the Raiders, Antonio Pierce did a really good job. I believe he ended the season 6-5 with the Raiders after he took over as interim head coach. So today they made it official. They made Antonio Pierce the new permanent head coach for the Raiders. And look,
this was the right choice.
It was for
Good
me. It was
for
the only
you,
choice.
Raiders.
For me, it was the only choice. I mean,
Yes.
I don't even think they even interviewed anybody else. There was no news of the Raiders really talking
They
to
shouldn't
anybody
have.
else. Pierce had other interviews though because other people were interested in him. And when you just look at how he just brought that team up, I mean, the guys played so hard for Antonio. And he even had star players like Max Crosby saying, look, if you guys don't keep Antonio, trade me because I don't want to play for anybody else. So for me, that says so much about the character of Antonio, about how the guys rallied around him. And I remember Antonio Pierce as a player. He was on the Super Bowl team that when the Giants beat the Patriots in 2007, when they beat the undefeated Patriots. And you could tell from Antonio back then the kind of leader he was. Even with a lot of other great leaders on that team like Michael Strahan and guys like that, you could tell Antonio Pierce was a voice that people rallied around. And he brought a lot of that to being a coach with the Raiders. And those guys played hard for him. And it's just tremendous to see him get an opportunity to be the full-time coach. And the Raiders learning from their mistakes, too, because remember at the end of John Gruden's tenure, they brought in Rich Bisaccia, who was a guy, he finished taking them to the playoffs. They finished well, but then he blew it all up to bring in Josh McDaniels. That clearly didn't go well. So the Raiders and Mark Davis learning from their mistakes of last time and keeping the interim coach, keeping a good thing going.
It's just like what you were talking about, when we were talking about the Falcons and Belichick. This guy, Pierce, he can relate.
Yes.
And he obviously has the locker room, okay? He obviously has won over those players, and I don't think it took much. He's a former player himself.
Absolutely. It was a very good one.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that when he speaks, people listen, you practice what you preach type deal. Like when he's talking to you, he's been in those situations. He's lived it. He's done it. So obviously a lot of respect for him. And quite frankly, loyalty matters, okay? Not just in the NFL. It matters everywhere. Here too, Scott.
Yeah,
in this building, loyalty should matter. You know, you should promote people. And that's exactly what they did. And that was what should happen. Like seniority, all that stuff matters, and I'm just so glad that he got the opportunity, and I'm
but
sure
he didn't just get the opportunity; he earned the opportunity.
Absolutely.
So it feels good when you're in a position where you feel like you've worked hard to earn something, and to finally have that payoff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Earning something. Yes, absolutely. So happy for him. It was the right thing to do, and we love to see it. AFC playoffs.
Yes.
This weekend.
Well, we did NFC yesterday, so I wanted to jump into AFC a little bit.
I was
today.
about to ask you why we're only doing one.
We hit the NFC hard yesterday. So
Okay.
with the AFC, obviously you have Bills and Chiefs. That's the matchup everybody wants to see right there, because I think it's pretty much generally assumed when you look at the Ravens versus the Texans, it's been a really good Cinderella ride for the Houston Texans so far with a rookie quarterback, rookie head coach. But we all know in sports what happens with Cinderella rides, right? The clock strikes midnight, and I think the clock's going to strike midnight tomorrow for the Houston Texans. Great season regardless. Great season.
Are you mad at them because of what they did?
Well, no, because look, I'm obviously being a Browns fan. They took the Browns behind the woodshed last week. I mean,
They did.
I think we know what happened there, but no. C.J. Stroud, always been a big fan. I'm also an Ohio State Buckeyes fan.
Oh, that's
C.J.
right.
Stroud.
Okay, all right.
I like DeMeco Ryans and what he's doing as a head coach there.
Yes.
I think they rally around him the same way the
Coach
Raiders.
of the year.
Yeah, the same way they rallied around Antonio Pierce. So great story for them regardless, but I think Baltimore's on a whole new level right now. I think Lamar Jackson has a whole new focus. I think they'll win that game. As for Bills, Chiefs, I think this is the Bills' time.
Ooh, I like
think,
that.
I think this is the Bills' time right here. They've been knocked out a couple times by the Chiefs. I think they send Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs home, and I think the Bills get it done against the Chiefs.
All right, so you're saying we're going to see a Bills
Ravens
AFC championship.
Yep.
Okay, I think the country would like that. Ella Dorsey certainly will. She's a huge Ravens fan.
There you go.
And you know, Roquan Smith, former dog, is on the Ravens defense.
Yeah, he's big time.
As big time is, that is
Yeah.
Roquan Smith.
Big time
So
player.
you know, we love to see the former dogs who we used to watch compete on Saturdays and do great things on Saturdays.
Hey, look, too,
do
for
it
the
on
Bills,
Sundays.
too, you also have Cook, the running back.
Oh, yep, James,
Yeah, you got James Cook there, too.
brother of what's his first name?
Dalvin Cook.
That's right,
And look,
Dalvin.
that Bills offense has gone to another level since they started giving the ball to James Cook, because
I know
they were relying everything on Josh Allen and his ability to, throw the ball, and everything was on him. But once they switched offensive coordinators, I think they went to Joe Brady.
Yes.
And since that's happened, he started giving the ball to James Cook more, and that offense has looked totally different. So, yeah, James Cook, the former UGA dog, paying big dividends for.
And you got to wonder, right? And that just shows you really quickly, and this is like kind of off topic,
No,
but
it's fine.
what a change in coaches and giving opportunities to different players who are ready to play
sure.
can do.
For
Just
sure.
just bringing in a different mind that
Breath of fresh air.
right, that is not so much like married to a certain player for a certain reason.
Right.
James was just waiting for his opportunity, and we got to see it on Saturdays here, and he has literally elevated to what they've given to him.
Yes,
Every single week he's played really, really well. Do you have anything on your mind? I'm giving you 10 seconds for it.
Well,
If
not
you
much.
do.
NFL playoffs, like I said, I love the NFL playoffs. I'll be watching. I'll be glued to the television as much as the rest of America will be.
Okay,
about
and if football is there, I'll be glued too. You and I will be glued tomorrow together.
Like we were
here.
last week watching the Browns.
Yes. So I got to hear
Well,
all
but
kinds
with-
of noises come out of Scott, like, ooh, yeah, no. So, yeah.
For about half the game. In the second half, it was a blowout. So.
Yeah, it was a blowout.
All right, so go ahead and wrap us up.
Yeah. All right. So Ellie's telling us to be quiet. So it's time for us to
She's
go.
telling us to shut up.
Hawks at Heat on Peachtree TV. Atlanta News First tonight. Watch it. It's going to be great. Good night.
Have a good weekend.